I'm Chef Frank, this is Protocooks, and join me on my quest to make Torrone. Candy making has always been something I've been interested in, but never really practiced. I learned it about 27 years ago in culinary school, and we kind of just scratched the surface and you get a basic knowledge of it. So I'm working with a very basic knowledge of making it. Something I've worked on over the years is reading and research. I always read books, and there's a couple of old books that I have. Fannie Farmer, The Joy of Cooking, are really good old school books that people used to make their own candy, and they have really good reliable recipes in here. I got the Confectioner's Handbook, which is really old. It's just interesting read. It shows a lot of cool different machines. But one of the books that I really love is The Good Cook. This series has been awesome. I found these in a bookstore, and they have all different types of books like lamb and beef and soups and breads. And the candy one's really reliable. But I'm always looking for good books to kind of improve my craft when it comes to candy making. So if you know any good ones, put it in the description. You may say, Chef Frank, what the heck is a nougat? You know what a nougat is, and I'm going to show you why. 3 of the most popular candy bars in the States have nougat as their base. Three Musketeers is all nougat, Milky Way is nougat and caramel, and Snickers is nuts, nougat, and caramel. Let's cut into a Three Musketeers to see what this nougat actually looks like. Okay, let's bust that open. Give it a cut. I'm gonna take the wrapper off. Give it a cut, right? So it's soft, it's pillowy. This one is a chocolate nougat. The one that I'm going for will probably be a little more chewy than this, not as soft. But when you think of nougat, this is kind of where we're going. For my Torrone, this is what you're gonna need. Sugar, salt, almonds, pistachios, corn syrup, orange rind, vanilla paste, wafer paper, egg whites, and honey. One of the ingredients that I think is necessary for this is wafer paper. Now, I bought this online, and it's basically an edible paper. This is so you can sandwich the candy between this. The candy itself is super sticky, and the host paper keeps it so that you can actually pick it up and eat it. The honey part of this is very Italian. Now, you can get away with sugar and corn syrup, but the honey gives this a special flavor. So when I do later candies, I'll probably not use honey in it, but this recipe calls for it. I'm gonna use orange rind to flavor this. You can do lemon rind. I've seen it with almond extract, but pretty much any flavor you want to put in, you can put in. I'm using vanilla paste. It just has a little more flavor, I feel. You can use vanilla extract if you want. First thing we're gonna do is get our sugar syrup on the stove. And one of the most important tools, I think, for a beginner like me is to have a thermometer. If you're a professional pastry chef, you can actually touch the syrup and put it in ice water and feel the texture of it to decide if you're at the right temperature. I am nowhere near that level, so having this Insta-Read thermometer or one of those candy thermometers that go on the side is essential to the process. Something you see a lot when people are making candy is that they have a brush with some plain water and they brush the sides down to keep crystals from forming on the side. Now, I don't want to do that. I am impatient, and that's where the chef, the culinary chef, comes out in me. And I've read somewhere that if you just put a lid on, you'll get some steam, and that steam will stop the formation of crystals. So we're going to try and see how it works out. The reason that the pastry chefs brush the sides or put a lid on is that you don't want the crystals to form because your candy will be grainy. And that's the best I can understand it. So we'll try the lid method and see how it goes. All right, let's get everything into the pot. My sugar is just plain white sugar. My corn syrup, nice and sticky, and my honey. My honey has a little crystals in it. I'm not worried about that, just for the fact that I'm going to bring this syrup to a boil and those crystals will melt. So I'm just going to mix this together for now, just so it doesn't caramelize on the bottom. I could be doing this wrong. Some people say don't mix it because you're getting crystals on the side, but I'm gonna give it a mix until it becomes liquid, and then I'm gonna throw the lid on. I'm gonna get the nuts ready as well. I'm gonna put my pistachios and my almonds on a tray. I like the almonds to have the skins on them. Traditionally, that's how it's done. And I'm gonna throw these in the oven and toast them off really lightly. I've read in a lot of different recipes through my research is that you want the nuts to be hot or warm when they go into the mixture with the egg whites and the sugar. You don't want it to be cold because then it'll seize up. So I'm gonna put these aside, and when it's time to get everything together, I'll put the nuts in the oven and roast them just lightly so they're not like really dark. So the sugar, honey, and corn syrup mixture is starting to come to a simmer. I'm gonna throw the lid on, and hopefully that'll cause a little steam and wash down those sides. So you look at the pot, I do have some steam, which is nice. Let's check it out. It is boiling away. The sugar looks like it's starting to melt. I'm gonna give it a little swirl, okay? And I'm just gonna let this cook. We'll bring it up, I think we're bringing it up to about 290. So I'm just gonna let that go. While our honey and sugar syrup is coming to a simmer and getting to temperature, I'm gonna prepare my egg whites. Now, Torrone basically starts out like a meringue. Okay, so I'm gonna put my egg whites in the bowl, but one thing you have to make sure is that your bowl has no fat or grease in it, your whisk has no fat or grease in it, and that you don't get any egg yolk in the mixture, right? You don't want yolks in here, you don't want any fat in here at this point, because you won't get that nice volume as you whip the egg whites. Let's get the whites ready. I'm gonna break my whites into my mixer bowl. Again, make sure you don't get any of that yolk in there. Try not to break your yolk.
You don't want any fat.
I'm gonna put a little salt in there, and salt is just a flavor enhancer. I saved a little bit of the sugar to add to the whites while I whip them, and from what I read, that's like a little insurance policy that when you add the hot syrup to it, the eggs don't just kind of like cook right away. It gives a little bit of insulation. All right, so the syrup has come to a boil. I'm gonna take the lid off. I'm gonna test and see what our temperature is. We're at about 300 degrees. Oh my gosh, that went a lot quicker than I thought it was gonna go. So let's go get our egg whites ready. I'm gonna leave this on super low. I hope I didn't mess it up. Leave the lid on. Try not to burn yourself with the sugar syrup because it's super dangerous. Let's go get our egg whites ready. Let's whip our egg whites. I have the salt in there. I have the sugar on the side. We're gonna whip these until they're kind of firm peaks. Oh, you gotta start the machine up and put it up. My syrup got to temperature a lot quicker than I thought it would, so I'm kind of scrambling now. Scrambling. I don't want to scramble the eggs. So it's starting to get fluffy and foamy. I'm going to add my sugar now. So you can see that it gets really crazy, that you have to get this all together and have to like plan it better than I did. Let's check the peaks on this. Pull it out. It stands up. So my sugar syrup is at about 298. We're gonna give it a try. Now this is where it gets dangerous. Sugar syrup by itself is super, super dangerous. So you don't wanna get it on your skin. So this is something that I've done before. I'm a little nervous, but I think we'll be okay. So I'm just gonna let this go. And I'm gonna stream my sugar syrup down the side. So I'm gonna let this go at a really high speed until it cools off, and we'll see how we did. So the mixer is going, and you can see I messed up already. My wafer paper got wet, and you can see that if it gets wet, it's no good. Like, it's sticky, it almost falls apart, it sticks together. So I cut some new pieces. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna add a little bit of my vanilla paste. I'm not measuring it out, I should be measuring it, I know. I'm gonna take off the whisk, and I'm gonna replace the whisk right now with a paddle. Now, I don't know if this is gonna work. We're gonna give it a shot, but you can see how sticky this mixture is, right? I'm gonna get the paddle out to finish cooling this off, and everything's so sticky. While I have this off, I'm gonna put a little orange zest in. I'm gonna go with about half of the orange because I do like that orange flavor. I'm gonna put this back on the machine with the paddle. Right now my mixture is really still hot. I'm gonna put the nuts in, I'll fold the nuts in while it's still warm, but I don't want it to ooze when I put it into my pan. So I'm gonna let it just go for a little longer and see what happens. Again, I'm still learning here. I'm gonna take this off of the machine. I'm gonna take my paddle out and try and get everything off of it. It is sticky, very sticky. Look at this, it's a mess. All right, the nuts are nice and warm. Let me throw them in and let's fold the nuts in. The mixture is like super, super goopy right now. I love the smell of that. I think it smells great. I'm gonna put it onto my paper. All right, try and get everything out. I think it's cooked enough. I just don't know what the end texture will be. So I'm putting it onto my tray. I did not put any oil on my tray. The tray is kind of a non-stick pan, so I'm kind of hoping that that will help. I got a little oil over here too, because maybe I can put a little oil on my hands and use my hands. Put a little oil on my hands and see if this works. Right, maybe put a little oil on this. Oh yeah, look at that. That works really good. Look at that. That is not bad. Right, let's try and get it off of my spatula. I got the oil in my hands. Oop, that's hot. Press it into the, like kind of get it into the shape of the paper. Get my other sheet of rice paper on top. And then I'm gonna press it down so it's fairly even. Look at that. All right, so the rice paper's on top. I have a Pyrex dish that I'm just gonna like squish down a little. I'm gonna let this sit overnight until it's ready to cut. Now that the Torrone's in the pan cooling off, I have one thing I already know I need to work on is timing. My sugar syrup got too hot too fast. I really wasn't paying attention to it. And then I had a rush to get my egg whites. So I need to be a little more organized next time. Again, this is my culinary chef brain trying to do pastry chef things. It has been 24 hours and we've come back and that's what it looks like. I'm already a little worried about getting it out of the tray because it's sticking here, but I have a bunch of implements. I have a couple of spatulas. I have one of those weird butter knives over here, and then I have a nice serrated knife to help us try and pry it out. So I want to try and pry it out of the pan, get it out of the pan. And I already know for next time if I do this, I'll put rice paper everywhere or the wafer paper everywhere. It's also been humid out, so I know the humidity affects candy, and I think that's a good thing because we cooked our sugar a little higher than 290. So let's try and get it out. Right, it's sufficiently sticky, I'll tell you that. Let's see if I can just lift without breaking my tray here. The struggle is real here right now. Maybe next time I'll coat this with a little oil or something. Let me coat this with a little oil. All right, just put a little bit of oil on this on both sides and see if I can unstick here. So I guess just getting some air under it. Oh, there you go. It's pulling up. All right, nice and easy. There it goes. It's coming up. All right. Ta-da! It came off. I can't believe it. I really thought I was going to break that. I'm a little reluctant to put a knife in here because I don't really want to scratch the pan up too much. So I guess I could use a knife if I wanted to. So let's get the bigger one. Let's use the big boy. Under there. Oh, look at that. Look at that. You see? See? Oh. Okay. I'm doing it. You ready? Set. I can't believe it. I am so blown away, right, that it actually came out. I'm gonna cut the edges off and then we'll cut it down the middle and see what a finished piece looks like. It does stick a little. I'm afraid I'm gonna cut my finger, so I'm just gonna pull. Oh yeah, that's much better. Look, if you just pull like that, see, we're learning. First look, it looks really good. Look at the nuts. You can, I smell the honey, I smell orange. I'm gonna see if I can just cut this into rectangles like the normal ones that I've seen. I have this serrated knife here that's working okay, but let's try, I have my slicer, maybe we'll try a slicer. I'm not sure that's much better. Let's try just a regular chef knife. Oh yeah, that works a little bit better. Although it is sticking. I wonder if I put a little, grease the knife up a little. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, I think that I do need to kind of oil the knife, but I'm gonna cut up my squares. I feel right now, right off the bat, the texture is a little firm, but I'm gonna continue to slice this up. I think I'm gonna use the chef knife, and I'm gonna just oil a little so that, I think that maybe next time I'll get a little spray and like spray it off with like some Pam or something like that in between cuts. Again, if you're a confectioner, tell me what I'm doing wrong in the comments. All right, I cut them all, and look at, I'm all like sweaty and perspiring. It's a lot of work, you know? Like, I never realized candy makers had it so hard. Okay, let's taste, but I also want to critique a little. Looking at it, I think it looks like the real thing, or like the commercially produced stuff, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. The texture is still fairly soft. It was hard to cut, so I'm a little worried that it's going to be too chewy when I bite into it. For the most part, I'm looking for something soft that doesn't really need a hard kind of chew. So one thing that I see right now is the pistachios look good, but I think the almonds could have been toasted just a little more. So without further ado, let's go. The texture is right on the money. It's a little firmer than the store-bought stuff. You taste the honey, you taste the nuts. I taste that little orange in the back too. I think from my first attempt, I did a really good job, but we're gonna try and duplicate it again. I am gonna toast the nuts a little more. I'm gonna figure out a better way to kind of mold it so that it's not as messy as it was. But I am really happy with this, and I hope that you guys come along with me on this journey of me figuring out how to make candy. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give us a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. We have merch in the description down below. We also have a P.O. box down there. I want to thank our Patreon patrons for supporting us. It really helps. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining me on my journey to learn how to make candy. This is the first of hopefully many videos to come. And with that, I'm Chef Frank. This is Protocooks. Have a sweet day.